851, Big 550 KTRS. I know everyone is worried about basements, whether it's a $1 million home in Ladue or a nice little bungalow in South City and everything in between. Basements. They know no zip code and they know no bank account. To talk about it, Helitech Waterproofing and Foundation Repair Territorial Manager Burke Watts. Burke, welcome to Big 550 KTRS.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having us in today. Appreciate it.
You got it. Helitech, two things. First of all, they do the helical piering.
Yes.
Which is when the house is settling.
Correct, yeah. If you've got a settlement issue or walls bowing in, things like that, that's obviously what we've been doing for 30 years, and we've also been doing waterproofing for that same amount of time.
How do you know your house is settling?
Okay, so from settlement, what you're really looking for at that point is you're looking for cracks in your foundation, if you see any in your brick veneer, if you have brick on the house, and more importantly, inside, you have windows, doors sticking, things like that, where you're constantly having to repaint one little spot where it keeps popping. That's a sign of a settlement issue we need to look at.
Is St. Louis... the soil in St. Louis, are some places better, worse? Is St. Louis different than Philadelphia? What's the deal with the soil here?
If you're hearing us on the radio right now, you're in as bad a situation as you can get for soil. We have a really high plastic clay soil that expands and contracts a lot, which is what causes our issue. Plus, because we actually have 4 full seasons of weather, all that difference of rainy seasons, dry seasons, winter, really cause havoc on a home's foundation as well, thus causing all of these problems that we run into. So, yes, Midwest is by far the largest area for it.
And the helical pier, which you put into the ground and sort of lift the house up, you dig down till you find good, solid something, right?
Yeah, so in St. Louis, you can be anywhere from the house literally already sitting on rock to needing to go 15 or 20 feet till you get to good, load-bearing soil. So with the helical piers and all of our systems, we're able to put those in so that we can get them down to inactive soil or onto good rock that's not going to move anymore, and thus hold the house into place and be able to move it back into place.
Yeah. Now let's talk about wet basements. What can you do for us with wet basements?
Well, as obviously right now experiencing the flooding that we're getting, so Helitech for the last 30 years has been doing waterproofing, and it's really our mainstay for this time of year. And so with basements, what you're really looking at there is there's a couple of different ways water could be coming in. If it's coming in through cracks in the foundation walls, that's really a pretty reasonable fix, very quick, pretty painless to do. If it's just coming in through those cracks, they're doing an injection process to stop that water. If you're getting water up through the floor, if you've got a old stone foundation or concrete block where the water's coming up from underneath the floor, there we can put in our hydroway drainage system, which puts a drainage material in underneath the basement floor, leads that over to a sump pump to then get the water out away from the house and drained away.
When you do that, do you have to rip up the whole basement floor?
No, you don't have to take up the whole floor. We usually take out a very small section of the floor, about 10 inches wide. That gives us enough access around the perimeter, put the system in, get our pump in, take care of it. But if a homeowner has an older house, say in U City, when the floor is in bad shape and needs to be, we're perfectly fine and ready and willing to take out that entire floor and put a new floor back down for them. So we can do any variation thereof.
Well, you hear the French drain, which is that sort of around the perimeter. Is that what you're talking about?
Similar, but just a better version of. So a French drain is really just a 4-inch pipe covered with rock, right? So your issues there is the soil is eventually going to bleed into that, even with the rock around it, and start to filter in and clog up and slow down. With the material we use, which is called Hydroway, it's a patented product we've used for every basement we've ever waterproofed has the same system in it. And so the benefit to it is it has a geotextile fabric filter around it so that it won't ever let any soil into it. And so we actually don't even have to pack rock around the system to make it work properly. That's how confident we are in it that it won't clog, is we don't even have to worry about that step. And so by putting that in, it acts just like a sponge or a wick would. Water just wants someplace to go. We're giving it the path of least resistance into the system, to the sump, and out away from the house.
Before you came on, Burke Watts with Helitech, we talked about power outages.
Yes.
And no matter how great of a system you have, it goes to a sump pump. And if you don't have electricity for your sump pump, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. And so we actually install a battery backup system, so we can do, just your standard pump. If a homeowner has a generator, a lot of people have went to the whole home generators.
Right.
If they've done that, then they're in good shape all the time. But if not, what you need is really a battery backup system. And so what that does is it's a secondary pump system that if the power were to go out, or if your initial pump were to fail, just say it, goes out on you, this battery backup system will kick on and take care of so the power comes back.
I don't know how much time we have. I've looked at battery backups, and they want me to put in battery acid and all that stuff. Isn't there an easier way to do this?
No, well, and if somebody's asking you to put everything we do, when we walk away, it's done.
It's done.
Homeowner never has to do anything. The battery's on a constant trickle charge, so it's always working. You don't have that issue.
How long does a backup battery work for?
It depending on how high it's got to pump the water, could be anywhere from 4 hours to 40 hours, just depending on how much it's going to run.
So it'll at least get you through that power outage,
yes,
chances
sir.
are. Bert Watts, people want to know more about Helitech. Heal your home with Helitech. Where do they go?
The easiest way is helitechonline.com. They can get all the information they want there, see a lot of what we do. And then obviously the 800 number is 800-246-9721 is a great way to get us as well.
Helitech's been around how long?
30 years this year.
30 years. You don't look a day over 30. What are you talking about? Burke Watts, Helitech Waterproofing and Foundation Repair Territorial Manager. The website one more time?
helitechonline.com.
Thanks for coming in. Good
stuff.
Thank
you, guys.
8:58. McGraw, Mill, Kelly Jackson. Big 550.